Hello everybody, Ian Lee here. Hope y'all are doing well. In today's video, I wanted to talk about mixing Barry Harris concepts. I'm going to be talking about two ideas from Barry Harris in particular in this video, but I hope what it does, this presentation of this, will encourage you to find different ways to not just mix Barry Harris ideas, but combine things from all kinds of players and all kinds of musicians and sounds and teachers, whatever your brain happens to latch onto, because we all are unique in the way that we perceive, hear, and understand and express music. So there's going to be things that you see that I don't, and vice versa. So let's go ahead and dive in. I'm going to play a particular phrase, and I'll play this towards the end. I want to explain some things first and play a couple things. So the two ideas that I'm going to be mixing and playing around with are Barry Harris's idea of what a chromatic scale can be, and his dominant half-step rules, or I've heard them called the extra note rules. So the idea being on the extra note rules, if you are not familiar with them, is that if you're playing, I'm going to play from F7, so or F dominant scale, that if you're starting on the tonic of that scale, you put a half step between tonic and 7. So then I'd have, okay, and if I go up to the second degree of that scale, I would do no half steps, or a half step between second and tonic and 7. So, and then there's a series of rules that goes with that. So basically for any note, anytime you start on the second, fourth, or sixth degree, you can do 0 or 2. And if you're starting on the first, third, fifth, or seventh degree, you can do 1 or 3 half steps. And that can actually be expanded to as many odd numbers as you want and as many even numbers as you want. It can go on and on and on. That's one of the great things about what Barry Harris does, what he did, what he presented, is that it's so malleable. It's these rule sets in a sense, but it's so unbelievably flexible that once you get an idea of how it functions, it's just kind of endless possibility, which is what music is anyways, but I think Barry Harris did a great job in doing that with jazz in particular. So we're going to look at this particular scale rule, where we start on the tonic of the scale, and we go down and we put a half step between tonic and the 7. Okay, we're going to combine that with Barry Harris's chromatic scale. Now, how does Barry Harris perceive or say we can practice a chromatic scale? Remember, this is one way to do it. Normally, if we play a chromatic scale, right, if I was to play F up a single string, we just play every single note you can play from F to F, right? Well, you can actually look at the specific scale that you're playing. In this instance, I'm playing the F dominant scale, and I can take a look at these moments in our scales where a half step doesn't occur. So where would that be in our scale? Well, if we go up the F dominant scale, so between this A and this B flat right here, there's no half step between those notes, right? And then and there's no half step between this D and this E flat, right? So now you can just keep going up and playing a chromatic scale. Oops, I doubled up a note there, forgive me. But what Barry came up with at some point in his life, I think it was later on in his life too, just kind of showed how he was always innovating, which I think is a great example for us. We can always innovate, change up our own minds and our own styles and our own sounds. Is that you can put a half step or a note still in between these notes that don't have a half step built in naturally by the formula of the scale. So what might that look like? Well, if we just ignore all the other chromatics for now, we could put a scale tone above the B flat, so C. So we end up having C in between A and B flat. Now if I put all the chromatics in from there, you end up getting this really cool sound. And of course, that note in between can be anything. It could be, it could be really anything you want it to be. That scale tone above is just a starting point. And from there, it's up to you. So again, it just kind of shows the malleability of Barry's system. Now, how do we combine that, or how was I at least thinking of combining that in regards to this one particular descending dominant scale idea of where we can put a half step between tonic and flat 7 by putting the major 7 in? Well, I was thinking, okay, what if this is my scale? I'm not thinking of the major 7 as an extra note, but it's actually part of my scale. It's part of the sound that I'm expressing. Well, that means that when I descend from the tonic, since this is now part of my scale, again, this is maybe a funny way to explain it, but it's the best way that I can think of. Since this isn't an extra note, I need to put a note between these two notes, if that makes sense. So initially, I can put a note between these two notes because there's a gap. Well, now if I'm saying, well, actually my scale is this, it's that. This note belongs to my scale. So that means I can put a note between these two notes. So I can go, see, I'm going to use a scale tone above that F. Okay, and I'm not finished yet, but I just want to play that one more time for y'all. So now we get this kind of different take on this thing that we might practice quite a bit and use quite a bit if we're used to playing around with Barry's ideas and his systems. Now, because of the way this works, if you look at the way Barry's extra note rules work, it's that you end up landing or ending on a downbeat and a chord tone. I don't know if he ever intended it to be like that. He never says anything like that, but that's how it ends up playing and laying on the guitar, or laying on any instrument, really. So what does that mean? Well, now we need another extra note. So we have, if I want to land on this third of F, this A, and it be on a downbeat, I need an extra note. So I thought, oh, well, why not just make it a surround at the end there? So I did there. I went a half step below it, and it's cool. It ends up being a chromatic surround. So one and two and three and four and one. Now, if I was playing over an F7 for 2 bars, that would work. If I was playing F7 to B flat major 7, that A would end up being the major 7, so I ended up landing a chord tone. So it's just, it's just fun to see these things and to put them together. Again, whether it's through Barry's ideas or some things that you're seeing yourself, some of your own rules, it just shows you how malleable and how flexible it can all be, and how much fun you can have putting these things together. It's like a lifelong Rubik's Cube or something. I don't know. It's really beautiful. So I hope you guys enjoyed that, and I hope that all made sense. Please leave a comment below if something seems confusing, and I'd be happy to answer the best way that I can. So we'll talk soon, and have a great rest of your day.